Hello, YouTube, and today we're talking all about Kyle and Aquila. So it's been about a day or so since they've both come out. I have tested them pretty extensively, so I'm not going to showcase them in any battles because I already have so many on my channel already if you want to check it out. I have, for example, Kyle in Castle Rush for nightmare farming in like every stage possible with like every transcendence level possible and skill enhancement and stuff like that. I also even showcased Aquila, not as much, but in the Death team setup for PvE, and I will be testing her more in PvP as with Kyle, and be showcasing them even more later on. But I just want to talk about their banners because I know a lot of people are kind of waiting for people's opinions because they're not whales or they're free to play, and they just kind of want to know if they're worth going for. And you get Kyle at T0 for free, and people might be, trigger happy and try to max dupe him or just get as many dupes as possible. But you're gonna see that these two characters are very, very good at low investment. So basically, Kyle you get for free, so he starts at T0 by using the code that is Kyle versus Tio 1016, I believe, or maybe it's Tio versus Kyle 1016. But anyways, regardless, like this character, when you look at his dupes, his transcendence, it's not going to really affect him too much in PvE. And the reason why is because the second transcendence, it's going to be basically just giving him an extra nullifier, damage nullifier when he goes below 70%. And the one at 6 gives him ignore defense, which sounds super powerful because it is, but you have to keep in mind that it's not going to buff his damage as much as you'd expect when compared to PvP. It still does a lot, don't get me wrong. But what I'm trying to say is his investment, you don't really need that much investment into him. You saw in my last nightmare farming video where I showcased Kyle, he was farming up to 17-1 nightmare, although probably is inconsistent at that high of a stage, at 0 dupes, which is absolutely crazy. The same thing goes with Aquila. So Aquila is more of a less, dupe reliant character, and the reason why is because the only thing she really gets is extra healing and then skill cooldown reduction, which sounds very good. But for PvE purposes, which is kind of where Death is like the best in my opinion right now, for PvP it's really hard to build Death because you do need a lot of dupes on like every character. She is extremely strong, and you don't really care about the cooldown reduction because usually with Death, when you kill off a few units, you're gonna win the stage anyways, and the extra healing you can just make her tankier, right? She's really good because effect resist reduction, she has Link, which is like the best buff in the game. She can, speed up death timers with her Merciless Storm. So basically, both characters are just extremely, extremely powerful to go for. So you saw that their transcendence don't matter too much. Now, what should you guys do for the banners? So personally, I think the first thing that you should do is pull Aquila. So you definitely want to get her to T0 because at T0 she's absolutely amazing. And if you check out my Aquila Death Team showcase video, you can see that she speeds up Death teams by like so much. And you're probably thinking, why does it matter if, if I have like a Nox and a Chris, why do I have to speed up the runs? Well, in Nightmare mode, if you go past turn 200, you start getting one shot because you get like a debuff on your team that scales that just makes you take more and more damage and heal less. So this death speed up thing, turn reduction, I guess you want to call it, is really important, and it speeds up your runs by a lot. And on top of that, this effect resist reduction is really good. She pairs very well with just any death character. I don't really think you want to run her alone, but if you have either Chris or Nox, where is Nox here? You can just pair them together and she's really good. You can even run 3 of them and they're very good. You can run Nox with her, and then you can run Chris solo in the other team, and it works as well because Chris has a like AoE death application, which is fine. So basically, you can use 3 of these characters, just 2 of them, you can use 3 of them. You could probably use just Aquila as well, although it'll be a lot slower. So just amazing for progressing. Death is like the easiest way to cheese through like Nightmare mode and some Infinity Tower stages because you just, one-shot the mobs and don't really worry. You just have to stay alive. So this character you definitely want at T0. She's absolutely crazy. There's no statistics yet, but next patch you're probably going to see that she is amazing in Adventure, probably like Arena as well. So definitely a character you want to go for. You just want 1 copy. You don't really need to get her to T2 or T6. 1 copy is fine, and I'm not going to say it anymore, but just get her at T0. She's absolutely crazy. Now let's talk about Kyle. So Kyle, you guys probably already know by now, he's amazing at low investment, but he's a damage dealer. Do I want to actually invest heavily into him? So I think for PvE purposes, you're only really going to use him for farming and for castle rush. So if you do want to farm like harder stages more easily with less gear requirements and also just score higher in castle rush, duping him is really good because you are just getting more stats, right? Even though the dupes aren't like the most effective for PvE content, you're going to see that the amount of stats you get, and it's the same for like every Transcendence, is pretty amazing. And the best part about Kyle is, like other DPSs, he gets this crit rate node at 4. And the thing is with Kyle is that he has a passive that buffs his crit rate. So if you get him to T4, you're going to see that when you run him on Avenger, which in my opinion right now from my testing is like the best set, you don't need to run any crit rate at all. So you can run double crit damage. So you can see my stats here look absolutely crazy because he's T4. He has 282% crit damage and like 4.1k attack. That's mostly because he's at T4 and because he gets this crit rate passive. So absolutely amazing. Now in terms of like duping him for PvP, yes, he's going to be amazing with dupes for PvP. The reason why is because this ignore defense is really, really important for beating those tank teams. So currently like the physical team really has a hard time beating those tank down stall teams, and Kyle is kind of the answer to it because he does so much ignore defense, right? He also pierces and he can remove buffs such as Link and stuff like that, and he has damage nullification and he can like focus down a target with his Eyes of the Strong. So if you're planning to use him in PvP where he is very, very good, definitely going for dupes of him is very powerful. But for PvE content, you definitely don't need to dupe him that much. I think honestly you can keep him at T0 and just use the free copy if you're completely free to play. And if you just skill enhance him and get like the skills besides his basic attack, even though his basic attack is very good, you're probably going to be fine with farming. And you know, if you're worrying about PvP, then you're probably going to want to dupe him. But in that situation, I wouldn't really invest too heavily into him because there's other units for PvP that are way better at low investment, and that's going to mostly be like the magic team. The physical team is pretty heavy on investment because, for example, you want like Kyle T6 to ignore defense, you want Kagura T6 to apply the physical vulnerability that she gets from landing her skills. Oh my god, that's so much text on her. You want Tio T6 so that he can always crit, right? So the physical team is very heavy investment. So for PvP, yes, you do want to dupe him quite a bit, but if you're not like a spender or if you just don't have a lot of summons saved up, you're probably not going to want to invest just because of the PvP aspect. Of course, he is pretty badass. If you like him, you can go for it and do what you want. And this game does give you a lot of summons, so you probably will be able to get multiple dupes of him. And then later on, when he is added to the wish list and also added to 7k chests, you will get him to T6 eventually. But right now, if you are more focused on PvE progression, what you can end up doing for both banners is just pulling a T0 of Aquila, and then decide if you want to pull for dupes of Kyle to kind of prepare him for PvP and for like the really hard nightmare stages if you're lacking the good gear. Or you can even just get Aquila and then start focusing on your other characters that you need, like Biscuit, Mercure, and stuff like that, which will be very important for your account progression. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video because I didn't want people to feel like they had to like all in Kyle's banner, because it's definitely not necessary. All you really need is to pull for one copy of Aquila and get the Kyle for free, and your PvE progression should be just fine. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.